I guess you're probably wondering, why all these books? As decoration? Yes. But more than that. Today I want to talk about books. So do you think I'm going to give a book review? Well, kind of. Now, are you curious on what book am I going to give a review on? Well, I won't spoil it. I'll keep you waiting for a bit. So, hopefully our IT team can help me on this as well, because I know this is going to be a task which is not normal. This is not the normal. So I hope our IT team can help me with this as well. So before we commence, let's take a few moments to worship the Supreme One, the infinitely compassionate one, the ones whose compassion knows no boundaries, the Tathagata, the Supreme Buddha. To do this, can you all be upstanding and recite the Namaskar with me? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, you may now be seated. So, books. What is so good about books? Why am I going to talk about books? You see, I'm going to explore a certain saying. A saying that I think is very well known. One that I've been told countless of times in school. Let's see if you can figure it out. So, let's see if you can infer. Let's see how intelligent you are, and let's see if you can infer what this talk is going to be about. I have a various amount of books in front of me right now, but I want to show you a couple specifically. These will be very well-known books. So I request, sincerely, that for a moment, forget every single book you've read. And forget all the movies you've watched, for now, just for now. Don't worry, it's going to be hard to forget because you can't forget permanently. But just imagine you have never read a single book, never watched a single film. Right? Now, I'm going to show you a book. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Just a couple of seconds just to look at it. And I want you to think about what sort of impression it's made on you. Whether you want to read it or whether you don't. Ready? Okay, here we go. Book number 1. You get, say, 5 seconds. 5 seconds to look at it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. That's all. That's all you get. So what are the impressions it's made on you? So I'm guessing, because I have it in my hand right here, and you probably could remember it, that what you see is a black book, right? The moment you see the color black, what comes in your head? Many things. Darkness, the fear of being dark. So you can think that the book is going to be scary. And then what? So the first thing that you see here, in the book, right? I'll show you in a bit, right? Is the picture. That's number one. So on the picture, you probably see is a ring with a sort of bird holding an arrow, which all of it's on fire. And then what you see next is the title, The Hunger Games. And then you see the author, Suzanne Collins. So that is what you see. Now you tell me, what sort of book is it? By just looking at the front cover, tell me what sort of book it is. So this is basically the theory of front cover making, we'll call it. So what sort of impression has it made on you? Is it a good book? Can you say it's a good book? Yes? If you say yes, why? If you say no, why? How do you know it's a good book? Oh, because you like the pendant. Well, we don't know it's a pendant, but let's say we do know it's a pendant. You like the pendant. Why? Why does the pendant make you want to read the book? Why does the title want to make you read the book? Why does the pendant make you not want to read the book? Why does the title make you not want to read the book? Why does the color why does the cover determine whether you read the book or not? Very interesting, right? That the cover itself can be the thing that that helps you decide whether you're going to read or not. You think about it, right? By looking at it, you think, okay, the Hunger Games, hunger, bad, games. How can hunger be a game? And you have an argument inside, and you look at the picture and think, oh, that picture's nice, I want to read it. Oh, that picture's not nice, I don't want to read it. But why does the front cover make you want to read or make you don't want to read? Now, tell me, right? On the book, right? Inside the book, there are, say, here it says there's like 373 pages. How many pages did you read, right? Like just by looking at the front cover? How many pages? Did you read the first page of the first chapter? Or the last page of the last chapter? Or a page in the middle? Did you read a single word? Did you read a single, like literally, did you read a chapter? Did you read the story? Wait. No. You didn't read the story. You didn't read a chapter. You didn't read a sentence. You didn't even read a line. Nor did you read a word. And yet you decided, you know what? Don't want to read the book. I don't want to read this book. Or I want to read the book. So just by looking at the cover, can you say this book is a good or a bad book? No, you can't. Not by without reading. Without reading, you can't say this is a good or bad book. Ready for the next book, right? Luckily, I've got two books with me, right? This book is also a very well-known book. Usually, I could tell, like I can say, most of you have either read it or watched the film, because both these books are major films as well. Ready? You have 5 seconds to make your first impressions. Or even if you want to, we've got the chat and the comments. You can write your impressions on it as well. So I just showed you the Hunger Games. You can write your impressions. And here's book number 2. Ready? Get 5 seconds to make your first impressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. See, within the funny part is within this 5 seconds, you make assumptions. and you come to the conclusion that I want to read it or I don't want to read it. It's funny that, right? That within 5 seconds, you've already chosen whether I'm going to read this book or not. 5 seconds. So you look at the book and you think, okay, this is a picture of a really big, hairy man holding a lantern and 3 kids. Two of them have blonde hair. Well, one of them ginger, right? And the other guy has black hair, wearing round glasses. And there's a massive mountain with a castle. Just by looking at the picture, you decide, you know what? This is a good book. Or you decide, this is not a good book. By reading the title, what's this? Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Is this a good book? Can you tell me that this is a good book by just looking at the title? You can't. You can't say this is a good book because I think most of you would know, right? J.K. Rowling, when she first wrote this exact book and tried to get it published, she was rejected. As I remember, if my memory is correct, at least 7 or 8 times before it was actually published. See, these people judged by who she is, how many pages, how many words, and they decided no. Or maybe read a couple of pages and thought no. But as I remember, a child, I'm not really sure about this, but as I remember, a daughter of one of the publishers found the book and started reading it and told her parents that this is an amazing book, that she couldn't stop reading. And therefore, they started publishing. And look how many people have read. Look, put your hand up if you've read the book or watched the film. Exactly. You've either read the book or watched the film, all because of J.K. Rowling's work. But can you use the cover to determine whether it's a good or bad book? Now, all of you smart ones probably have realized what we're talking about right now. We're not talking about books. So I'm not telling you to read every single book in the library and then say that this is a good book or this is a bad book, recommend these books, I don't recommend those books. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is nothing to do with books. Nothing to do with books. Go on. You clever ones out there. What am I talking about? What is the famous saying that I'm talking about? Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. Why is that so important? So that quote is not even talking about books either, although it is. It has a second meaning. It's talking about people. It's talking about people. You and I are humans. Right? Put your hand up if you're a Homo sapiens sapien. Now, tell me how many people have their hands down. Everyone has their hands up. Everyone is a Homo sapien. So, I know that we don't know other people, right? We don't know other people as in we don't know their personality, their story. We don't know what sort of person they are. But we can be sure of one thing. We know who we are. We know what sort of personality we have. We know that I'm smart, I'm good at maths, I'm good at English, or I like reading, I don't like reading, I like playing on the Xbox, I like playing on the PS, I don't like playing at all. I like instead chatting with people. You know yourself very well. Although I can tell you that you don't know yourself 100%, but you know yourself very well. So what we can do is use us to think about other people. to use us to determine what other people are like. That is why two people become friends. Because they think the other person is like me. And usually, great friendships are with people who have similar favorite things, similar likings. That's how two people become friends. But today, I'm talking about something a bit more deeper. You can't judge a book by its cover. As we talked about, right? You can't judge this book, how good this book is. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I've known people, a lot of friends, who've read the entire series more than 5 times. And trust me, if you've seen the size of other books, they're like this big. And yeah, they've read the series 5 times. That's how great of a book it is. I've known people who've been addicted to Harry Potter, who have been addicted to Percy Jackson, who've been addicted to all these great books. But yet, by just looking at the cover, can you think, okay, this is a good book? Just tell me, right? So in my left, I've got Hunger Games. On my right, I've got Harry Potter. Which one is a good book and which one is a bad book? Tell me, which one? Is the Hunger Games a good book, or is Harry Potter a good book? Or are both of them good books? Or are they both not good books? How can you tell me? By just looking at the cover, can you tell me? You can't. You can never say that this book is a good book by just looking at the cover, without reading a single word in the chapters, without knowing who Harry Potter is, without knowing who Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, or even Albus Dumbledore, without knowing who they are, without reading what the story is about. How can you judge the book? How can you say this is a good book? They say people are like books if you know how to read them. They are like books. Why? Because you can't judge a person by how they look. Of course, it's proven that, through psychology, right? That within, as I remember, 7 seconds, or within 7 seconds, you make a firm impression. You think that this is a person like this. Within 7 seconds. But within the first couple of milliseconds, you see a person, you already determine what sort of person they are, just by looking at them. But what I'm saying is, by looking at someone, you can't determine who they are. You can't determine who they are just by how they look. You can't say that this person is sporty by just looking at them. You can't say this person is intelligent by looking at them. You don't know who they are. And you can never judge anyone. You see, people, the subject of people, is a subject that will always change. I remember I once had a friend who used to always tell me, I wish everyone was a person, every person was a computer. How easy life would be. Why? Because computers don't change. You run a program and that's it. But change, the word change, is something that is nature to everything. But for humans, change happens very quickly. See, we can only determine how someone else is by looking at our own lives, right? So look at your own lives. Look at it. You have changed. Throughout your life, you weren't one sort of person. Were you? Were you just this? So, for example, right? You all were babies, right? You were babies, you were toddlers, you've been through life. When you were a baby, When you were hungry, what did you do? You cried. When you were thirsty, you cried. When you not accidentally, when you wanted to go, you went and started crying. That's all you did. You cried and cried and cried. Now look how much different you are now. I can say some of you may have not cried for maybe days, months, years. Who knows? Some of you may not even remember the last time you cried. So, you've changed. That's babies, right? Toddlers. Do you guys remember playing with dolls, playing with toys? Do you now play with toys? Do you play with toys now? What? Those toy cars? And go boom, boom, beep, beep, and drive it everywhere you go? Or do you play with Barbies? See, here's the funny part. When you were little, like when I mean little, I mean very little, didn't matter what sort of toy you were playing with. Whether it was Barbie, whether it was a car, whether you're playing princess, whether you're playing mums and dads, or whether you're playing pretend, you would be anything. But now tell me, can you play with Barbies if you're a guy? Can you play with, I don't know, cars if you're a girl? Do you see how, I'm not being sexist, right? But most of you wouldn't be able to. Most of you wouldn't be able to. But I do know that some would. But what I mean is, you've changed. Because I remember when I was little, when I mean little, I don't mean very little. When I was, I think, 11 or 12, whenever my sisters used to play with Barbies, I used to join in. But as people grow older, they think, no. Barbies, no. We're not playing, I don't know, Assassin's Creed. We're playing Call of Duty. We're going to play Halo. All these very advanced games. So your ideas, the things that you like, they change. Think about it. Have you not had those days where one day you like this so much, the next day you don't? I remember, and especially as we passed Halloween, right? I remember one Halloween, I stuffed myself with chocolate so much that the next day I was like, no more chocolate for me. And then the next day I'm like, yes, chocolate, please, chocolate. And the next day, no, chocolate is not for me. That changed. Day 1, I like chocolate. Day 2, I hate chocolate. Day 3, I love chocolate. Day 4, I hate chocolate. So we change. So say someone does something, and you put a tag saying, this person's like this. This person is like this, and he will always be like this. So whenever you look at this person, you automatically think, okay, be very careful around him. He's got very short temper. I'm not saying you shouldn't be careful. You should be. If you know someone has short temper, don't label them though. Be careful. Try not to make them angry, but don't label them as short temper. So when you go talk to someone and go, let's say Tom over there, you have to be very careful when you talk to him. Why? He's got a very short temper. You say something and he's going to blow his head off. Don't label anyone because they could change. Don't you know someone who had a very short temper and the next day they've become very patient? Or someone who is very nice and patient, the next day they have I've known people who are very nice one day, the next day it's chaos. People change. Appearances, they change. Tell me, do you still look like a baby? Like when you were 1-2 years old? Or when you were a toddler? So I know, right? I know that all of you, every single one of you, have either been through puberty, the big word, right? Or going through puberty, or will go through puberty. If you don't know what it is, I'm sorry, parents, but they're going to have to ask you. But when puberty happens, I can tell you, your body will change. People have growth spurts. People will grow facial hair, and so on and so forth. So no one is constant. There is no such thing as a constant human. Humans will fluctuate. You can't say this person like this. So how can you judge this book by its cover? Without reading, because think about it, right? It's only once you've read the book, once you've read at least a part, or at least a chapter. When you read a chapter, you can decide, you know what, this book will be good, or this book won't be good. But when you read half a book, you have now more of an accurate understanding of the book and think, okay, this book will be good, or may still be good, or maybe it may have a terrible ending, who knows? When you've read the entire book, you still don't know whether it's a good or bad book. Because good and bad depends. Good and bad depends on the reader. How do I know this? Well, think about it. Why would they have all these different types of books? Why would they have different books? Why? Because one book someone likes, one book someone will hate. Other books, after some time, you start to like it. A good example would be, I remember, I think it was, it was The Book Thief. I remember when I was small, I used to read, I got the chance to read The Book Thief. I read the first couple of chapters, it was very interesting, and then I'm like, no, I can't. Then, a couple of years later, I read the same book again, and I read it from start to end, completely. So you can't say a book is good or a book is bad. You can't label this as a good book, or a bad book by just looking at the cover, or even reading. You can't read this book and say this is a good book or this is a bad book, because good and bad isn't in the book. That's number one. But number two, the cover has nothing to do, well, it does have things to do. It may have a scene or some sort of thing in the story, but you can't judge this book by the cover. You can't look at a person and think, this person's like this, and then put that label on him. Put that label on her. So, oh look, she's coming this way, she's bossy, let's move out. Why label a person? Why would you label a person? You don't know who they are. You have to first go and read them. Look at who they are. Read them. Go to when I mean read them, I don't mean go and see if they've got pages on them. Of course not. To go and talk with them. See, the coldest of hearts can be warmed with words. The coldest of hearts can be warmed with words. Don't you know someone who everyone doesn't like, or a group of people don't like? And you go meet them, and you talk with them, and to be honest, that person is an actually really good person. To be honest, I've done that. Sometimes when I went to school, I obviously had a group of friends. Sometimes I wouldn't be with these group of friends. I would go and talk with other people. People that are discarded, put to the corners, who are, to be honest, they feel like nobodies. Why? Because they may have strange habits, may like things that other people don't like. who acts a bit strange, who may look a bit different. But looks don't mean anything. You can't judge a book by its cover. You have to go and talk to this person. So I remember talking to a lot of people. I don't know why, but that's something that I used to do. And most of my other friends would say, why do you do that? But I do. I used to go to them and ask them, like, how are you? Or, like, what are you doing? And converse with them, talk with them. And sometimes I find out that these people are really good people. These people have really big hearts. They're really kind. Sometimes, even the toughest of bullies can have a kind heart. I know that you may think that's impossible, but they do. They're not animals. They're humans. They are subject to change. They will change. You can't say that this person is a terrible person, this person's rude, because they can change. Think about this, right? I can say from my own experience that I've known people who in school were literally the biggest gangster in school, who is friends with people who throws chairs at teachers. Yes, I've seen that happen. Who most likely have done drugs. But I once met him out of school. I talked to him. And honestly, sometimes I feel like he had a bigger heart than some of my friends. That he cared for others. So we can't judge who a person is by just looking at what they do. You have to go and read them. You have to go specifically inside them and read between the lines. A good book that, well, it's a good book, but the school unfortunately made me really dislike it, but I can show you. Here I've got Of Mice of Men. I don't know if people in other countries do this, but in the UK, we read these books and we annotate them. We have to say why this happened, why that happened, why did he use this, why did the author, John Steinbeck, use this metaphor, why did he call, I don't know, so if I remember, Curly's wife, and not give her name, and so on and so forth. Because we read between the lines, and therefore we can get the idea of what the story is about. So even though the book may be like really thin, in the end, you felt like it was a very big book. So there may be characters. So the book may feel very cold, but once you read between the lines, you see that they have a big heart. That they explain why this person is cold. So tell me, right? When you see a murderer, the first thing that comes to our head is, oh, he's a murderer. Don't approach. Stay far away. Don't come near me. I don't want to associate you. But how do you know why he murdered? How do you know? Do you know that this person murdered because I don't know, let's say, I'm not saying murdering is correct here, right? What I am saying is you can't put the tag saying that he's a murderer. In one of the following sermons, I'll talk about what does it mean to be a good person, what does it mean to be a bad person. Because honestly, you can't say someone's good or you can't say someone's bad. We'll talk about that in one of the future talks, one of the future sermons. So let's come back to the topic. There are millions of books out there. Maybe billions. Maybe trillions. Just by looking at the cover. Never decide who this person is. Who the book is. What the book's about. Just by looking at a cover, you can't decide that this is a good book, that this is a bad book. You don't know. Read. Look at them and read. And then you learn about Katniss Everdeen. You learn about Peter Malark. You learn about District 12 and all these stories. Only if you read. Again, let me re-emphasize because I don't want the wrong message to go into your head. Here, I'm not talking about books. Because I don't want to have complaints saying that I'm telling everyone to read books. Of course, reading is good. I'm not against reading. Right? To be honest, I'm for reading. Honestly, I wasn't a reader. I wasn't a reader until I understood the value of books. And after that, I started reading. Back when I was a layperson, I read all these books because why? I understood the value of books. So I'm not saying don't read or any of that. I'm talking about humans here. You tell me, when you fall down, what's the color of your blood? When your enemy falls down, what's the color of their blood? You're both humans. Enemies can become friends. Friends can become enemies. Never, ever judge a book by its cover. You just can't. Think about, usually in libraries, there's tons of books, right? You can't look at a cover and think that this is a good book, or this is for kids. Although the cover would make it look, appeal to children. Some adult books may have those same things, and yet when you read it, you understand that this book is nothing to do with the cover. So how can the cover define the book? How can someone's appearance define who they are? Just because someone looks different, someone may be a different religion, may like different things, maybe have different color skin. How? How can you say that this person's like this? We've got examples from history, right? People used to think that people with dark color skin were all criminals. How do they know that? How do you know that? How do you know that these people are bad people? By just looking at them. See, so I remember learning that they used to determine if someone was a thief or someone was a criminal by looking at their skull. By feeling their skull. If they've got a lump if they've got a lump here, they think, okay, this person is the criminal. How? Obviously, there are things to do with the brain, but how can the shape of your skull determine if you're a criminal? How can your birth, because no one can change their appearance. I don't mean with plastic surgery or anything. I mean, you are born with this. You can't change it. You can't think, you know what, I don't like being the color I want. I want to be lighter. I want to be darker. You're born with this. So is everyone else. They can't change. You can't just go like, oh, I like the way you look. Oh, you like the way I look? Alright, let's switch. Let's swap. Let's swap bodies for the next couple of years. You can't do that. You can't look at someone and judge them and say, this person is smart, this person is not so intelligent, this person is sporty. You can't say this person's good by just looking at them. Just because they smile. Just because they smile, you can't say a person's good. You have to read them. You have to go and look at who they are. Talk with them. See, if we don't, the books will be left unread. If that little kid didn't read the scripts of Harry Potter, you and I wouldn't have read the book. And the best part is, once you read a person and you understand who they are, again, you will never 100% understand. You will never 100% understand that this person is this. Again, because we're all subject to change. We can change all the time. And therefore, that's a good thing. That's the best part about being human. We can change. That's the best part of being human, because we can change. We are able to change. So you can help others. You can help others. You can help others by reading them. Think about how many people you can help just if you read them. You can't judge a book by its cover. It's impossible. I want to make that message. I want to engrave that message into your heads. You cannot judge a book by its cover. Just because they did something, you can't say this person's like that. Just because, let's say a person accidentally, or even they stole something, you can't label a person a thief, because the next day they may change. Next day they may be the best person ever, but yet you label them as thief. That reminds me of a story, right? A story that we learned in primary school. Basically, one day there was two brothers. These brothers, they were mischievous, very mischievous. That one day they fell into the wrong hands and they started to steal. They started off by stealing little things. Maybe by stealing candy from a shop, sweets from a shop. And then it became bigger, big bottles. And it became bigger, money. And it became bigger until, so this is the countryside, right? They had sheep, right? Until they decided, you know what, we're going to steal a sheep today. They found joy in stealing. They had money, they had everything, but they found joy in stealing. And so they decided, you know what, today we're going to steal a sheep. And we're going to get away with it. And so they planned it all out. Unfortunately, before they could get out of the park that the sheep was in, someone saw them and called the police, and the police caught them. Basically, they started to run, but unfortunately, the police caught them, and they went to court. Now we're talking about a story in the past where they had punishments. Where you're not thrown in jail, you get punishments. So what they did was, they got the punishment of having the letters ST, sheep thief, on their forehead. So it's called branding, right? So it's a very painful procedure, right? Where they get a stencil with ST, a metal stencil. They heat the stencil up and they place it on the forehead of the person. Very painful, and it's permanent. If you know, if you get a burn, usually they're permanent. Well, deep burns are very permanent. So the word ST were imprinted on 2 of their foreheads. Now what could they do? Everyone, when they looked at them, thought, oh my god, it's a sheep thief. Stay away. They'll probably hide their children behind them because they stole sheep. One of the brothers thought, you know what? I can't handle this. The shame, the guilt. How am I gonna look at my parents straight? I'm gonna have to look at them from the corner of my eye because I can't face it. I can't handle it. I can't handle the shame. And so what he did was, he packed his bags and ran. He ran away from home. He decided that he's not going to stay in the town and moved to the next one. And think about it, right? He's got the words ST on his forehead. Obviously, people will be curious and ask, like, what's ST? And he's going to be like, it's nothing. And when they find out, he's going to have to run again. And so he spent his entire life running from country to country, town to town, city to city, until he died. He died a runner. He was never happy. Whereas the other brother thought, you know what I did was wrong. Stealing is wrong, I know that. But I have to make it up to the people. And so, even when people said, oh my god, it's a sheep thief, he wouldn't react. Instead, he helped the society. He helped the community. Maybe he did some community work, donated, helped others. And he helped them so much that people started to like him. Even though he had the word ST on his forehead, people liked him. People associated him. He had a lot of friends. And then, a random person, a stranger, comes into the town one day and walks past this person who's got ST on his forehead. Now, he's curious, right? He goes to one of the shops and asks the shopkeeper, excuse me, sir, do you know there's a person in town who's got ST on their forehead? I say, yes, I do. Do you know why he has the word ST on his forehead? Well, thinking about it, I think it means saint. He's a saint. Think about it. The 2 brothers were branded with the words ST on their forehead. One of them died a sheep thief. One of them died a saint. Now, if they branded this person and said this person is a sheep thief for the rest of their lives, how wrong would they be? That person changed from a sheep thief to a saint. So, if this person can change, look around you. Look at people around you. They can change as well. All these bad people, they can change. All they need is some help. All they need is to have a change in idea. When you change an idea, you change the person. If you can give them the idea that, I don't know, what you've done there is wrong. Instead, do something like this. Then they're going to change. See, that is why I say I am the luckiest person alive. I don't know about Elon Musk. I don't know about Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know about anyone else. I know that I am the luckiest person alive. I don't have a single cent, a single penny, nothing. Single dollar? No. I don't have any money on me, but I know I'm the luckiest person alive. Why is that? Because I live and breathe with the most extraordinary people in this world. Why? Because they know that people are subject to change, that people will change. You were never labeled in the monastery. You do a mistake, you're never labeled. Why? Because we know you will change. That is the beauty of the monastery. I'm telling you, people, if you come here, a murderer, maybe there are rules against you being a monk, but you will never be labeled as a murderer. You'll never be labeled as a murderer. Never. Because they know. Our monks in the monastery know. You can never judge a book by its cover. Just because they did one thing doesn't mean their entire story is like that. Look, just because on this picture, right, you see, you know the story, right? So there's Hagrid, Hermione, Ron and Harry. Yeah, and it looks like they're going to the castle, which as we know is Hogwarts. Just because you look at that doesn't mean that that's the only thing that happens. Imagine instead of this, they show Professor Snape. Just because they show Professor Snape doesn't mean the entire book is about him, about how cruel he is. See, that's something that I really appreciate about Harry Potter, the book. Because in the last book, not the Cursed Child, the book before, right? In the last book, they were able to change Snape. A person in the other 6 books who we really disliked. We didn't like Snape. He was a person that we were like, no, I don't like him. He's rude, he's mean, he's cruel, he's arrogant, and so on and so forth. But in the last book, J.K. Rowling makes him die a hero. It shows that you can't So think about it, right? Harry, Hermione, and Ron, they judged Snape. But they never read him. They didn't go and ask him about his past. Obviously, he may not have said anything, but they don't know about his past. They don't know how much he does for Harry, how much he did for the Dumbledore army, how much he did for anyone. But in the last book, he changes. In the last book, Harry finds out who Professor Snape is. What about Dudley? Dudley, who throughout all the books was a rude, mean, greedy person. In the last book, he became nice. Does this book not prove that people can change? That people can change at any point in their life. At one moment they could be bad, the next moment they could be good. And if you judge that person, and said, no, he's bad. No, he's good. J.K. Rowling changed Draco Malfoy. See? People can change. People can change. You can never ever judge a book by its cover. So I'm telling you, never ever judge a person by what they've done or by what they look like. But read them and change them. Change these bad people to be good. Because humans can change. Okay. So that's the end of this Poya sermon. I hope this is an eye-opener, because first of all, I want to first thank, right, the 2 books, right, or all the books. I couldn't have done Dhamma without these books, obviously, right? This Dhamma was completely dedicated on these books. So I first want to thank the authors and all the publishers and all that, right? But I want this to be engraved in your head. You can never judge a book by its cover. So you can associate anyone, because why, they can change. Hopefully in a future sermon, we'll talk about what it means to be good. So good versus evil. That'll be interesting as well. So just remember, I'm going to keep on saying this until I can engrave it in your mind. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't. Okay. Remember, if you have any questions you'd like me to answer, any topics you'd like me to talk about, you can post them in the comments or write them on the chat. Or for this month, if you want. In the comments or in the chat box, write someone, either a real person or a character. If it's a book and a character in a book, you can write their names, but if it's a real person, don't. Who changed? Who say you judged accidentally, or accidentally you judged someone, but once you read them, they changed. They're not the person that you thought they were. Use the comments and chat to do so. Okay. That brings us to the end of this month's Poya sermon. Let's take a few moments to transfer merits and conclude. Let's take a moment to transfer the merits we've all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pith, listening to Dhamma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of Lord Buddha's teachings, and with immense gratitude, let's transfer the merits to the Bhikshu Bhikshunis, Upasakas who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha and passed it down to a generation of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend the Dharma. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits worldwide to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief priests of all the chapters who have dedicated their life to the noble path, committed themselves to betterment for all sentient beings. Let's not forget among them will be the monks and nuns residing in local temples and nunneries, who have always been my side so they can take a moment of shine. So take a moment to transfer merits to Gurus and nuns, as well as all the monks residing in the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Agarikas attached to the monastery. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits and express our gratitude to those who made great effort to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha, be it thereby translating these sermons, sharing them out with others, inviting others to join them. May the power of the merits, if anything born the wolf brain, may they redeem themselves in warm display. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds. Fulfill the meritorious deeds. Fulfill the noble foot path to the Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to require to our devotees, friends, and the monastery for sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, medicines, as well as those who pass in their know-how and their well wishes. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path to the Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to our mothers, fathers, husband, wives, brothers and sisters, sons, daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, our elders, friends, and acquaintances, employees, to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way shape or form by the power of the merits. May they be healed in physical mental ailments. May they overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path to the Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So take one transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmins, spirits, demon, Pragam, Sakradeva, as well as numerous gods and deities who committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddha Sasana. The sorting one transfer merits to God and deities who keep watchful eye of us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the eightfold path into Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The sorting one transfer merits to our ancestors who predeceased us, to all those who have been friends, family, acquaintances in the same long chain of samsara, to all those who have helped us, support us in any way, shape, or form, let's take a moment to transfer the merits. Let's also take a moment to transfer the merits to the members of the armed forces, who police forces, sacrifice the life, protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those lost life and war be the friend or foe, rejecting men to quiet today. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to all those lost lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, lands, and pandemics. Reminding us of among them will be those who bring friends and family to us in this infinite long journey in samsara. Let's take a moment to transfer merits to them. May through power of merits, may they abstain from meritorious deeds. If they've been born the willful plane, may they redeem themselves with born this plane. May through power of merits, may they abstain from meritorious deeds. Fulfill their meritorious deeds. Fulfill their barefoot path in the Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, it's all resolved. May the power and blessing of all the merits we quiet throughout the day. We be able to invent many hundreds of thousands of our hearts in this land. And finally, may the power of all the merits we quiet today, you and I and everyone who made the program a success become our Nasi, or our husband in the very life in the era of the Gautam Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessing of Chupajam be with you all.